Hey guys, good morning, red and black greetings. This is Flamengo. Welcome to the Paparazzo Rubro Negro channel. If you're just arriving, I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe down below, turn on notifications, hit the bell, and leave that awesome like on the video. No, I wasn't bald. It was just a joke. It was a filter. Joking around there with Coach Leonardo Jardim, guys. We're here bringing you a lot of information about Mengao, sponsored by YouTube Shopping. You can get official Mengao products on YouTube Shopping. Also, there's Caravana do Haroldo, where you can secure your spot at Flamengo games at Maracanã with hospitality, ticket included, and even for away games too. Flamengo is in the Libertadores, the neighborhood team is in the Sudamericana, and you can secure your spot at the games with Caravana do Haroldo. Look, but I'm a rival fan. Yes, you can book a package with them too, no problem. The Sudamericana package is guaranteed for Botafogo fans. Right? They're desperate, right? They're desperate. They're asking for Textor to leave. Pedro Certezas is criticizing Textor. Several Botafogo influencers are criticizing Textor and realizing the truth. That Textor, in fact, fooled them for a year. But actually, he's really hurting Botafogo. Botafogo fans are outraged, right? The neighborhood team hasn't even recovered yet, has it? Always being the neighborhood team, we also want to remind you that you can lose weight in a healthy way with Mais Cabello and also take care of your hair health with Mais Cabello. I didn't have to go bald. No, don't worry, I'm still with Mais Cabello. Unfortunately, living here in the United States, I can't do my Mais Cabello hair treatment, microneedling, and everything else. I can't do it. I use the products here, but I really miss my treatment. If you want to do the treatment, want to get a free evaluation, there's a QR code here. You can contact Mais Cabello and get this free evaluation right now. There's a Mais Cabello, always close to you, anywhere in Brazil. Look, I'm going to start here by talking about the situation of Ryan Roberto. He scored another goal yesterday, right? He's killing it, isn't he? I'm going to start here by talking about the young player, Ryan Roberto. Man, how is he playing? This guy, he's playing really well, scored a goal once again. I also want to send a shout out to Damata, who scored a goal there too at altitude against Bolivar. Flamengo is playing in 5th place. The Under-20 Libertadores team is qualified. A historic record in the Under-20 Libertadores has been achieved. These kids are really good. They had a bad start in the Carioca Championship, but they're very good. They're fighting for their 3rd consecutive title, followed by the Under-20 Libertadores. And Ryan Roberto is one of the standouts of this Flamengo Under-20 team. And for sure, he's a player who's going to stand out in world football. Flamengo always produces great players, even during lean times. Right, as BAP said, this would be an in-between generation, but even in an in-between generation, you can still get a good wine, right? And you have that here. Ryan Roberto, who's a real gem from this youth academy, is shining right now. In the Under-20 Libertadores, he's ranked 5th, and big clubs from Spain are keeping an eye on him. He's a Flamengo player, okay? According to Bruno Lemos, who works with Mauro Santana, scouts from Real Madrid and Barcelona are closely following the red and black striker. In the Continental Tournament, with only 2 games in the group stage, the 18-year-old athlete has already scored 2 goals and provided 1 assist, meaning 3 direct goal involvements. It's worth noting that Real Madrid and Barcelona are always competing to sign top talents from South American football, especially from Flamengo. We've already seen Barcelona wanting to sign Wesley, and we've seen Barcelona wanting to sign other players who ended up being signed by Real Madrid. So it's always this rivalry, right, between Real Madrid and Barcelona. And it's important to mention that Real Madrid most of the time came out ahead regarding Flamengo. And honestly, man, I understand the need sometimes to sell a great player, to make a big sale from the youth academy. Palmeiras does that a lot, and so does Flamengo, but sometimes you just want to see these guys shine here first. But what happens is that we, for example, had Muniz, man, and now we need a striker, and Rodrigo Muniz is shining in the Premier League. Then we need players who are from our youth academy, and they go to Spain. And Flamengo pays over 20 million euros for Samu Lino, who was in our youth academy. So sometimes we lose players, who are stars, who are in our youth academy. We lose them just carelessly, man, carelessly. So honestly, I understand that it could be a big sale, right? Especially knowing that there are scouts from Real Madrid and Barca watching. But we always have to hope that Flamengo can get the best out of these players and use them as much as possible. Another player who is being closely watched by European football, Felipe Luis himself said he was being closely watched by the football world. And we know it's going to be very hard to keep him, but if Flamengo manages to keep him, especially because he's a defensive midfielder, the position Flamengo needs. They've already loaned out Allen, right? Flamengo has this issue, obviously, and we hope that De La Cruz has a good year, a good season. Flamengo has Pulgar, who is spectacular. They have Jorginho, but he's already at an advanced stage. So Flamengo needs to keep Everton. Araujo, for me, is a great revelation for Flamengo in the midfield. And we know Felipe himself warned, and we also have this information from sources connected to the board, that there are European clubs wanting to sign Everton Araujo, okay? The player is very close to renewing his contract. Flamengo wants to value the homegrown talent, right? Knowing that there is interest from foreign clubs, he trains every day before and after training at the Nino do Urubu training center, in his gym, at home. Okay, so the player, on top of everything, is close to renewing until 2030. He has a contract with Flamengo. Flamengo is talking to him, also talking to Rossi about a renewal. There are some players that Flamengo is looking to renew with, and they will still start talking to Pedro. But the priority right now is to value and improve, to give a salary increase, a salary adjustment to some players. Everton Araujo is one of those players that Flamengo understands they need to be concerned about, that they need to value. But he still has a long contract. But that's the way you keep and show, look, I see this one with great potential. So Everton Araujo today is one of Flamengo's players, just like Ryan Roberto from the youth academy, who could be a big sale. But I prefer that Flamengo actually uses this talent instead of selling him. Everton Araujo could indeed become a great possibility for a sale. But Flamengo, if they can, should hold on to these homegrown players. And Flamengo has this project to make sure they stay longer. It's very close. So this is also information from Bruno Lemos, who has been bringing a lot of important updates from Mauro Santana's team. He's our partner here. We exchange a lot of information. He's very close to renewing his contract with Flamengo Everton. Araujo, then, is one of the players that Flamengo believes has a big market in Europe. Felipe had already pointed this out and started using the player a lot. I think it's just a matter of time before Everton Araujo becomes an undisputed starter at Flamengo. I think he has a lot of quality, and we also have our midfielders being called up. It's important to have high-level options in the youth system who haven't been called up yet. Everton Araujo today replaces Eric Pulgar, Jorginho with high-quality Paquetá. Jorginho should be called up by Gattuso. He's on the preliminary list. We also have Pulgar confirmed on the preliminary list. The Chilean national team has a chance to be in the final again and to play for the national team again, the final list in this case. And returning to the national team is the preliminary list. Okay, guys, so we know that since Flamengo has this great talent, which is Everton Araujo, and has these players being called up, Pulgar, again, being called up, Jorginho can be called up for Italy. Lucas Paquetá, who is the direct option, called up for the national team, the Brazilian option. De La Cruz, despite being here this year to get back in shape, is called up for the Uruguayan national team. Who's left? Our homegrown player, Everton Araujo. That's why I talk about the importance of valuing Everton Araujo, because we're going to need him a lot. That's it. Imagine when he starts getting called up, right? Which should even happen before Flamengo. Thinking about selling him is surreal. We have Leila Pereira contradicting herself. My friends, that's what I tell you, right? She really likes to talk. She really likes to attack Flamengo, criticize BAP, saying that BAP is selfish, that Flamengo only looks out for itself and all that, and that Palmeiras is the good guy, that she and Palmeiras are the good guys. First of all, she's married to the owner of Crefisa, right? And it's a financial institution that doesn't give money away to anyone for free, right? They lend money with very high interest rates. That's it for me. This talk about selfishness, about being nice, that doesn't match with the company she works for, where she has a stake, which is a credit company. Okay, no one objects to having a credit company, but you don't give money away for free. You consider your profit. Flamengo also has the right to prioritize its profit. It's that simple, just like that. And then, my friends, the Paulista Championship, I'll even correct myself here, because the Paulista Championship has a fixed amount for the club's participation. A fixed purse that's bigger than the one in the Carioca. The prize for the Carioca final for the champion is double, and for the runner-up, it's also bigger than the one in São Paulo. But the purse to participate, the fixed purse, the clubs, the big ones, Palmeiras, Corinthians, São Paulo, Santos, they earn more than 30 million just to participate, and they reach almost 50 million with the prize from the Paulista Championship. The thing is, most of the smaller teams earn 40 or 50,000 reais. Look, while some earn over 40 million, others earn just over 40,000. Hey, Leila Pereira, don't you care about the smaller clubs? Aren't you concerned about sharing? Didn't you say you cared about sharing? Even the influencer Neto from the Opina Porco channel sent a voice message talking about this. Let's listen to Neto because he's always a very thoughtful guy, and to me, he nails the analysis. He's not biased at all. Obviously, he jokes around when Palmeiras is winning. Obviously, he teases me. Obviously, he jokes, and I joke with him too. That's part of it, but when it comes to analysis, he's really smart, and above all, he's totally impartial when he does his analysis. Look at what he said about Leila Pereira. He says,
"Paparazzi, hey, what's up, man?" About the issue with the São Paulo clubs, right? Where there's a huge difference. You have the four big clubs there getting more than 35 million, almost 40 million, while you have clubs from the countryside getting 50,000, 40,000. And I think Leila should keep the same consistency she has in Libra that she has in the leagues, right? The stance there about, oh, let's help the smaller ones, let's structurally equalize the sport. I think she could do that very well in the Paulista Championship, right? Actually, it would be an excellent starting point for her to have an even stronger argument when she wants to discuss this in Libra.
yeah, and then,
We're already talking about a broader, more national scope.
but she doesn't even do it in the Paulista. Come on.
So, do you see the four biggest clubs in São Paulo getting 35 million in prize money?
No, as a fixed amount. Meanwhile,
Smaller clubs, which could even very fairly be better recognized in the regional championship, because these are teams that sometimes struggle, like Capivariano, for example. They likely have to sell lunch just to pay for travel.
they have nothing left to win this year.
They have the bare minimum structure to compete in a state tournament, and they still made it to the knockout stages, right?
Another thing, I stopped here real quick. It's worth mentioning that in the Carioca, the smaller teams received 2 million. Man, Flamengo signed and accepted Leila Pereira. You complain about Flamengo, about BAP's selfishness, but Flamengo and the other big clubs in Rio accepted that the smaller teams would get 2 million, while in the Paulista, the smaller teams get almost nothing.
The first group stage. So that could even be encouraged as well. At this point, I'm totally in favor of encouraging it. I think it brings more credibility to the tournament, brings more structure. So if Leila really wanted to maintain the consistency she keeps in the leagues, she could easily do that in the regional championship. At least that's the way I see it.
And she didn't do it, right, my friends? She didn't do it. That's it. It's easier, right? How do we say it? Someone else's problem is always easier, right? It's easier to talk about others than to actually do it. And that's what I say. When her company lends money, they charge normal interest. Nothing against that. But there's no one giving away money, handing out money out there, folks. And her attitude in the Paulista Championship tells me more than anything else. And I'll say more, you won't see the traditional media and the reporters from São Paulo, since we mostly see the reporters from São Paulo even making jokes, playing around. Number one, fans of Leila. They are fans of Leila. The reporters there who cover the Paulista Championship, they are fans of Leila Pereira. You won't see anyone criticizing Leila Pereira. Congratulations to Opina Porco, who showed this impartiality, my friends. Look at that. Mauro Cesar Pereira and Thiago Asmar talked about Jose Boto's situation at Flamengo. Okay? And we also take this opportunity to appreciate what Pilhado said yesterday. We also talked about it, but this needs to be said. Man, the 7 events, this needs to be said. People need to understand. Palmeiras fans, Corinthians fans, rival fans, do we even have rivals in Rio de Janeiro anymore? You have to understand the size of Flamengo. Pilhado said the following: Flamengo becomes the team with the most state, national, and continental titles in Brazil. In the 21st century, they win another title. Now it's their 14th of the century. So Flamengo has reached the level of the biggest club, I dare say, in America. But in Brazil, it's the club with the most achievements in the century. That's a lot of scent, isn't it? That's a lot of scent. My nose is stuffed from so much scent of trophies, so that needs to be celebrated. The scent of trophies is real. It's true. The scent, Flamengo fans have their noses stuffed from it. They're going to lose. They lost the Recopa and they'll lose the Supercopa, but the scent of trophies is real. So, about the situation with Jose Boto, what really caught everyone's attention, as Pilhado says, was Boto. Boto was present at the award ceremony and said that in any club he goes to in football, he knows he's at risk. Mauro Cesar also said Boto is still on the hot seat, or maybe he's not. The information I had was that Boto was still supposed to be let go. But after I saw that amount of hugs between Bato and Boto, I started to have some doubts. And then that's it. Pilhado talking with Mauro, the two of them debating over there. Leonardo Jardim against Cruzeiro, this game today, this important game. And then Mauro Cesar Pereira said the following: some people were already declaring his dismissal. I also saw, obviously, that Bato wouldn't fire the director on the eve of the final without having anyone to replace him. Now that he's in hot water, he is, but the heat is low. You see, that's what I'm telling you. Mauro has calmed down a bit. Mauro is saying that the heat right now is low, okay? But it could get higher at any moment. The group supporting BAP doesn't like him. He burned his bridges with that Felipe Luis story when it was published, that he supposedly said he tried to talk the president out of firing, when in fact he fed the president the information that supported the firing, everything I had told you. ESPN published a report with behind-the-scenes details about daily life. Terrible, okay, it's really bad, with several people who work at the training center. I think there are those who like it, those who don't. That's part of it, okay? Look, we had them talking. They also said that Leonardo Jardim put on the field the team from the Libertadores final, which Felipe would have picked if Ortiz were fit. He put the team out there for safety. It's the team that's more in sync. That's true. He plans to neutralize Fluminense's transition game. I'm not going to attack so much. I'm not going to press so high. I'm not going to be as effective as I tried to be with Felipe's team, which was pressing. To use in this case even the word of the former coach and all, but making it clear that he put his own touch on it. But being careful to try to secure the win, right? In this case, the title, right? For the penalties, he already indicated that he should alternate Paquetá and Arrascaeta. There's the concern that Paquetá started the season in the middle of last year. In other words, he's going to have a season and a half straight, right? Instead of just one season like the others, right? Arrascaeta is a player who also needs to be used with a certain amount of control, right? He says that. I agree with him, and that's it, guys. The situation with Bruno, according to Mauro Cesar Pilhado and our information as well, is that for me, there's not even white smoke. Is it calm? Is it already resolved? This story that Flamengo has already reached out, some say they did. Edu Gaspar himself told Angelo, according to reporter Furtado, that he had been approached by Flamengo, but at some point when things were tense, he was approached. That has already changed. At this moment, the situation is this. There is no change. Okay, in Flamengo's football management, at this moment, Bruno stays with respect to the information. Also, according to Mauro and Pilhado, the situation right now is calm, right? In other words, it's a little less heated. But what I heard is that at this moment, everything is settled, everything is resolved. So could something happen? It could. It depends on the next results and everything else. The Brazilian Championship is very competitive. It's very tough. Let's see what happens today. Also, it's very important for Flamengo to get this win against Cruzeiro. Guys, here's the thing. Look, I'm going to talk to you about this initial moment of Leonardo Jardim at Flamengo. And we've seen in the footage from Mengao's training him talking a lot with Leo Pereira and Danilo. Even Bruno Lemos was talking to me. We were noticing that. In the training footage, Leonardo Jardim has been talking a lot with Leo Pereira and with Danilo, right? Before the start of training, also looking ahead to this match against Cruzeiro, he has been talking a lot with them, and that's very important. Danilo, in fact, has been helping the Portuguese coach a lot at the beginning of his work. We also saw footage of Danilo helping to decide who would take the penalties. We even posted that image of Danilo helping to set up who would take the penalties. That's very important. Danilo's leadership is important. And I also wanted to talk here about the matter, especially about Lino. I believe that Lino can work much better with Leonardo Jardim. Because what's the point of insisting on a player just because he was expensive but not giving him the conditions to shine? Isn't that different? If you give him the right conditions to shine, the chances of him shining are much greater. Simonetti analysis, right? I was following along here. Simonetti does a great job and he made a very interesting comment here. Let's listen, let's react. Look, Jardim is proving that some people were wrong when they talked about this team.
On this team, I include myself. I'm in on this, so regarding that, yes. Regarding that, no.
It's Pedro who
is going to be his Kaio Jorge, but what do I mean by him being his Kaio Jorge?
Jardim's team was a team
with a lot of transitions. Not by chance, they finished the Brazilian Championship with less than 48% possession on average, but with the 5th best attack in the competition. Kaio Jorge in this team was that annoying striker, always on the edge of offside, ready to attack the back of the defense. In this play against Grêmio,
this is Simonetti doing a great job for
dragging the defender. Mateus Pereira makes the same move, Romero carries the ball. And when Kahneman is forced into Cruzeiro's midfield, that's when Kaio Jorge attacks behind him to score another goal. But we know that Pedro isn't afraid of that.
Yeah, he has that profile. That's why Felipe wanted a guy like Kaio Jorge. Then we had a few plays taking a look at Lino.
He's already prepared to attack the back of the defense as if this was a coordinated move. Arrasca exchanges passes with Pedro. And if it weren't for this group from Fuentes here on the other side and the touch from Carme Zeten, what would it be?
I'm not going to show the image because we don't have the rights. People only talked without watching. Flamengo played poorly, but his influence is already visible.
Felipe Simonetti.
Tactical analyst Felipe Simonetti is speaking, doing a good job, and there was his influence. You already felt it. You already felt Leonardo Jardim's touch. He had his influence. Flamengo nearly created some interesting plays they couldn't with Felipe Luis before. Let's go. Look if...
Seeking space behind the defense instead of moving along the side. The play fails initially, but then comes the key moment. Pedro drops back, acting as a pivot, almost like a false 9 to draw the defender out, so Lino can be the guy making the run inside.
That's the guy. That's Kaio Jorge.
But the play doesn't end well here. From here with Carrasco the ball,
Carrascal also plays that role.
Carrascal too. It seemed like they understood that this season, he's going to be that Kaio Jorge for Flamengo. Something that Wanderson, the left winger too, for example, didn't do as much last season. But I dare say it's not just him, Carrascal, as well.
Look at this ball out from the back.
Flamengo drops both defensive midfielders back to draw out the opposing defensive midfielders.
There's also already a tactical lesson from Leonardo Jardim. I hope he manages to pull it off today.
That happened a lot in Felipe's team, and I bet it's going to be even more targeted. Next, Carrascal and Lino against Fluminense's fullbacks. With that open space in the middle, the Colombian gets through, but is quickly taken down by Rene. Now, I'll share a bold opinion. But my bet is that this year, Lino is going to take off and score a lot of goals. Jardim is proving it. Look at this.
Right, this year, Lino is going to take off and score a lot of goals. He'll have to work on his finishing, but he'll have plenty of opportunities. Because Lino is going to be Flamengo's Kaio Jorge, Leonardo Jardim is going to turn Lino and Carrascal into the Kaio Jorge of Flamengo. Man, anyone who understands a bit of tactics and saw what Flamengo did on the field, even though it's still early, can tell there's already a clear influence. Leonardo Jardim's influence, and today we're going to feel Leonardo Jardim's influence. I'll bring you Leonardo Jardim's probable lineup here, according to GE. So we should have Rossi, Varela, Leo Ortiz, Leo Pereira, and Alexandro, Eric Pulgar, Jorginho, Arrascaeta, Carrascal, Samuel, Lino, and Pedro. Look, I'm really eager to see and feel his influence there. Leonardo Jardim's influence with this team working and with Carrascal and Lino playing the roles of Kaio Jorge now in Leonardo Jardim's system. That's it. What do you think? What's your predicted score for me today? 2-0 Mengão is going to score, huh? There are going to be a couple of goals from Carrascal and Lino, and Pedro will score too. Pedro there, yeah, he'll play as the pivot and all, but he'll score as well, right? There's also the law of the X. Do you think it could be 3-0 with a goal from Arrascaeta that would make it 3-0 and the law would apply even to the coach, right? Because people are going to praise Leonardo Jardim if that happens, right? That win, just imagine. Cruzeiro is a strong team, even without Kaio, Jorge and all, but it's a strong team, right? We know it's a really tough match. That's it. I invite you to follow, like, and share on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe down below, turn on notifications, hit the bell, and leave a cool like on the video. Thanks for your company. Greetings, red and black greetings.